It's the boy Blackbeard Mirage. As you can see, we got a little leftover snow from last night down here in the wonderful city of Atlantis. You know, the Most High dropped something off different last night. You know, so we got a chance to switch up the scenery a little bit. You know, and as you can see, it's a lot of, you know, melting snow everywhere, and you know, it was cool to see it. You know what I'm saying? I always like seeing the snow. Also, too, I want to shout my boy Heru out. There actually is a falcon or a hawk. You all probably can't see him because I can't zoom in good enough with this camera, but there actually is a falcon or a hawk in those trees located, you know, in front of you on this camera. So the boy Heru actually is in the sky watching over this tape right now. And it's very, very interesting how he showed up. Also, too, I want to update on the brothers and sisters that I saw another black cat the other day. I was out doing some little work the other morning, and I saw a black cat out. So more than likely, we got some very, very big spiritual events happening to some of you people, and more than likely to myself, too, in probably the next 1 to 3 weeks. All right, closing out this year and to prepare us to go into the season of Capricorn, which is actually ruled by Saturn. Now, in today's tape, you know, I just want to briefly talk about a lot of so-called black women and the, you know, the disdain that they have for the Yaqub tapes that I've put out recently. And, you know, it's just a continuation of them not wanting to be accountable. And I'm very, very glad to see, or in other words, I'm very, very glad that you brothers are being, you know, given this opportunity to see these women not be accountable right in your face. You see, anytime there's something negative happening involving black people, you got to remember that if it's not, you know, if all the blame isn't being cast on the so-called black man, nobody really is trying to hear that. Nobody's really trying to hear how, you know, the Asiatic woman was responsible for the Yaqub experiment. So let's go into this real briefly. We all know from my last few tapes, from the great work by the master Magi C.M. Bay, that the mystical, allegorical, occult symbol of Allah is dealing with the master mason, or basically dealing with the Asiatic black woman herself. Okay, so the first thing is that the Asiatic black woman is the master mason. She is the one who is responsible for building Solomon's temple. What is Solomon's temple? Solomon's temple is the Muslim body. Okay, it is the Muslim body. The arm, the leg, the arm, and the head. The black woman or the Asiatic woman is responsible for this. Now, why are we saying she's responsible for this? Because she is the original female archetype on the planet. She is the gatekeeper of the planet. And nobody walking around on this planet right now, you know, is excluded from having the Asiatic woman in their matrilineal bloodline. Okay, so I don't care if you are from Saudi Arabia. You know, I don't care if you are from East India. I don't care if you are from the Americas. I don't care if you're from Europa. I don't care if you're from Thailand. Everybody in somewhere in their ancestral line, whether it's a few hundred years ago, whether it's a few thousand years ago, or in my case, whether it was just a few decades ago, that all of us come from the bloodline of some Asiatic woman. Now, if you are an Asiatic or a Moorish Aboriginal, then the matriarch that you come from, or the not matriarch, but the matrilineal bloodline you come from would be your mother. You know, so mother of us, if you're an Asiatic man, you have a black mother. Okay, so this is where we come from. Now, when it comes to these Caucasian people, when it comes to the Caucasian people and everybody else, they come from the Asiatic woman too, except they come from an indirect link. They're not as directly from her like a lot of us are. But you will still see the Asiatic woman of 2017 producing the Yaqub children all over again. And you see this show up in a lot of the albino children that are born, especially in so-called Africa, okay? Especially in the continent of so-called Africa. You have a lot of Asiatic or melanated so-called black women who are still birthing albino children today. Now, these albino children, they will have, you know, Moorish features, such as the same type of nose we have, the same type of lips we have, and the same type of hair texture that we have. But as far as their skin tone is different, as far as their eye color is different, and as far as their hair color is different, okay? A lot of these albino people are actually born with either red hair or they're born with blonde hair. Anybody born with red or blonde hair is showing you, okay, is showing you the consequences and the results of the Yaqub experiment. Because prior to the Yaqub experiments, these different variations that you see in the human family, they didn't exist. Because of Yaqub's experiments, we actually are all participating in what's known as the human bouquet. Okay, I can remember when I was in school, in elementary school, and you know, it would be times where we have to color, you know, in class and stuff like that. and the teacher would have a lot of packs of crayons and a lot of packs of markers and stuff. And I can remember when I was younger, they always had a box of markers that was called multicultural markers or multicultural crayons. And in these crayon boxes, you may have had 50 different crayons, but they were all representing the different shades and skin tones of the human family. Now, originally, there was only probably 2 or 3 skin tones, okay? You had your Asiatic skin tones, you know, where there had been a jet black dark skin more, where there had been your copper colored, bronze colored more, or maybe somebody a little fairer skinned than even that person. But either way it goes, these were really the only variations of the human family. Also, let me drop this on you. If you want to know more about how the genetic the genetic passing from the mother to the father, we have to look into the biological studies of who they call Gregory Mendel. Okay, Gregory Mendel is a so-called genetic biologist that gave us what is known as the Punnett square. The Punnett square is basically an alchemical diagram that shows you after 4 generations, the dominant seed actually starts to become recessive. So the Punnett square works a little something like this. You have big B being the dominant, which will represent the full-blooded Asiatic person, male or female. You have big B, little b, which will represent an Asiatic person with less variation, we'll say. Then you have little b, big B, and then you have little b, little b. Now, by the time you get to little b, you have a completely recessive albino, I guess you could say Asiatic, because the planet really only has one type of person, and that is Asiatic or Aboriginal Moors. So even though these Caucasian people are not genetically, they don't have all the genetics that we have, but they still do hold a large percentage of the genetics we have because of the amalgamation process. I saw somebody on the previous tape, they left a comment saying that it was a monkey that injected monkey semen into a human vagina, and they thought that a hybrid person was born from this. See, that type of thinking right there shows me that either A, you trying to be funny, or B, you're very, very ignorant, okay? Because let me put it to you this way, and I'm going to always use myself into these examples because I don't mind using for myself for an example for something either humiliating or something, gracious or grateful to make myself look good. So let me ask you this question. If I take my human penis and I stick that inside of a dog and I have sex with that dog and I ejaculate my human male semen in that dog, do you really think that that dog is going to get pregnant and create a dog-human hybrid? My next question is this. Let's take a monkey, because in a lot of these Yaqub experiments, we know about the troglodyte niger or the troglodyte nigger. What is the troglodyte nigger? The troglodyte nigger is actually the primate that Yaqub was using for a lot of his animal DNA as far as from the primate class of people. Okay, it is called the troglodyte niger or this black chimpanzee. Okay, if you don't believe me, look in Africa right now and you will see a lot of the Hamites, a lot of the so-called Africans, they train these chimpanzees. And a lot of them, these chimpanzees actually be walking around with AK-47s and stuff like that. Okay, so the idea of training chimpanzees is not nothing new. They had another woman, I almost want to say her name was Jane Pittman. Don't quote me, but I think that was her name. Her name was Jane Pittman. But it was basically this European Caucasian female who was I guess an archaeologist or whatever, but she used to do a lot of work with chimpanzees. Some of you all may know who I'm talking about. But either way it goes, this history of humans domesticating chimpanzees is nothing new. It goes back to the Yaqub experiment. So the Yaqub experiment, he was using chimpanzees, he was using what we call Sasquatch, and he was using what we call orangutan. Now I want you to pause to think about this real quick. There was an episode of, I think it was who was it? It was somebody on that Comedy Central. You know what I'm saying? You know how they have that guy Steve Colbert, the guy Jon Stewart, and it's another guy. It was the guy that got in trouble for using the N-word a few months ago, but he was dating all those black women. But either way it goes, that guy in one of his shows, he put up a picture of Donald Trump, and it was right next to a picture of an orangutan, and he was making a parody. But what this Jew was trying to do is show you a real history. Because if you look at that picture of that orangutan right next to Donald Trump, they look very, very similar. They look very, very, very similar, okay? Also, I want you to think about this too. A lot of these Caucasian people that have blonde hair, a lot of them are dyeing their hair blonde. A lot of them don't have naturally blonde hair. The archetype of Caucasians that represent a fully blonde hair or red-headed person that has blue or green eyes, it's not that many of them around anymore because of the amalgamation process through the Yaqub experiment. So that's why most Caucasians you see today, they have either dark colored hair or dark colored eyes. It's because they have been amalgamated with us for quite a long time, you see. But either way it goes, you have a person who would think that that this orangutan, so let's say I take an orangutan, okay, and let's say I go sleep with this orangutan and stick my human, DNA, if I ejaculate my human DNA into a female orangutan. Use your fucking thinking cap when I'm saying this shit. Do you really think that orangutan is gonna get pregnant and have a human hybrid orangutan? The answer is no. It doesn't work like that. The only way you're gonna be able to get that is from genetic manipulation at the DNA level, at the genetic level, at the nucleus level. Okay? So yes, we saying that these Caucasian people were part of an experiment, but they've been amalgamated with us for quite some time. And they have a lot of our human DNA inside of them. So this is why when you hook up with a Caucasian person, you will produce a child with them. Whether it's an Asiatic man getting with a Caucasian woman, or a Caucasian man getting with an Asiatic woman. Either way it goes, you're still going to be able to reproduce a child from it because they still have a lot of the human DNA. Now, if you were to say probably 1,000 years ago, now I'm not necessarily saying that may have been the case. I don't think they were as human as probably 1,000 years ago. They may have had human DNA, but it was probably a lot less concentrated than it is today. Because the typical Caucasian person you see today, although, they look albino or Caucasian, but they still look slick human. And the reason why is because we have amalgamated with them for so long. And if you don't believe me, just go look up some of the pictures of the Neanderthals. Go on Google right now and just type in a picture of the Neanderthal and look at that Neanderthal and look at your average Caucasian that you may see in a grocery store today. That Caucasian today looks a whole lot more human than that Neanderthal you're going to see on Google. And the reason why is because of the amalgamation process. When we kept sleeping with them and allowing our blood to mix with them, this made them more human. If it wasn't for that, they would still look like they do on the fucking Google pictures. Now, you can think I'm saying some mythological shit or whatever, but that's on you. The point is that I'm dropping this history. And I'm not going to let you all run from this shit either. Especially a lot of you so-called black women, because a lot of you all don't want to be accountable for the part that you played in this Yaqub experiment. You don't want to be accountable for how, your bodies or your wombs were used, and you used your science of the number 9, the same way that you birthed your Asiatic sons. You use this to birth the Caucasian son too. And you just don't want to admit it. So how on one hand are we going to say that the black woman has the Eve gene? How on one minute we're going to say that black woman is the mother of all humanity? But at the same time, when we have these Caucasian Neanderthal hominids walking around the planet, all of a sudden we want to say that they came from aliens, or we want to say that they came from a test tube. So how did you get a big ass person with fucking a head, 2 arms, a torso, 2 legs, a reproductive system, a circulatory system, a nervous system, and all this stuff? How did you create all that just from a test tube with some liquid inside of it? So yes, we're saying the Yaqub experiment was something that took place, but we got to take the whole movie and the whole Hollywood shit out of it and get a little more real about this shit. You know what I'm saying? So go look into your science on cloning. Go look into your science on genetic manipulation. Go look into your science on splicing. If you want to know more about the Yaqub experiment, you got to look deeper into that stuff. Other than that, you're going to look silly. Because what we are, the things that we are thinking of to explain the Yaqub shit is really not making any sense. It really, really isn't. You got really people out here thinking that there were monkeys having sex with black women and this was producing Neanderthal people. That's not the case. So now let me transition into that. So now that we already know that the Asiatic woman was responsible for this, because we still see that she is birthing albino people today. Okay. We still see she's birthing albino people today. And also too, that Asiatics or Moorish people, we are all prone to STDs or sexually transmitted diseases. Why? Because of the Yaqub experiments. Didn't I tell you all in the last tape that the Yaqub scientists saw that the Asiatic women, when they reproduced with these blonde-haired sons, these Neanderthal human hybrids that were actually human enough to procreate with them, they saw that these Asiatic women would give birth to children that actually had passed on, that actually carried the TB, the syphilis, and the different leprosy that was passed on by their father. Their father was the blonde Caucasian Neanderthal son. And these Asiatic scientists saw this. So what they did was they banned all these blonde sons to different islands and to different remote locations. And then they took all the blonde females and they made these blonde females amalgamate with the Moorish men. And this was what destroyed a lot of the tuberculosis. This is what destroyed a lot of the syphilis. This is what destroyed a lot of the leprosy. Why do you all think that when you are a little child, you have to get what's called immunization shots before they allow you to go to the public school system? Where do you think that came from? Answer that question. Where do you think the whole immunization shots come from? This concept of taking a little bit of a dirty ass disease or virus and putting it inside of your body so the rest of your body can get immune to it and fight it off because it has recorded and it is used to seeing this disease. Why did we have to create that defense mechanism to strengthen our immune systems? What did we experience in the past to show us that this is very, very important? This is what we had to do because the Yaqub system created these different diseases, and through sexual reproduction with these Neanderthals, it was passing on these diseases. So what those Moorish scientists probably recognize is that, look, in order to make us immune to these diseases that clearly have been released on this earth and clearly are inhabiting the bodies of a lot of the people on the earth, these Moorish scientists saw that we have to take a little bit of this disease, we have to insert it into our cells, let that strengthen our immune system so we will be able to fight it off. That's why in 2017, you can have a Moorish child today, let's say, get chickenpox or something like that and be able to fight it off. For example, when I was a little child, I had chickenpox for a little bit. I can remember this, okay? I experienced the whole chickenpox thing a little bit. And as I got older, of course, my immune system fought this stuff off. So you got to ask yourself, why are children more susceptible to get these diseases versus older people? Because they have weaker immune systems. They haven't been on the planet that long. They haven't seen all the different viruses and diseases that this earth has to actually offer them. And their immune system hasn't recorded it yet. That's why they are susceptible to colds. That's why they are susceptible to, let's say, the ringworm. That's why they are susceptible to different diseases as children. That's why kids get sick very, very fast, because their immune systems aren't developed yet. All this science that I'm giving you right now is a result of the Yaqub experiment. So back to these so-called Asiatic black women who don't want to be accountable, although their wombs were used for a lot of these Yaqub experiments. So when you read CMB's work, it don't say anything about these Asiatic women being kidnapped or raped. I had some silly ass nigger in my comment section saying that that Yaqub was kidnapping women and forcing them to do this. Bruh, how do you know that? Because everything that I'm telling you and everything that I'm giving you is coming off of something that I've researched and read, and then I give you the resource. So although I may say something that sounds a little funny, you know, I'm still giving you where I came from, where I got the shit from. So everything I'm telling you right now is coming out of the work of CMB, but his work is not the only place you can find this stuff. If you want to know more about the Yaqub experiments, look into the Sumerian mythos or the Sumerian mythology of the Anunnaki. And they talk about how the Anunnaki created this slave race of red people, okay? And they used this slave race of red people to work and mine the caves and to produce different labors and tasks that these people didn't want to do. Okay? But going back to what I'm saying. So Yaqub did one or two things to get these women to reproduce these Neanderthal, Amazonian, Franciscan, Caucasian white people. Okay, it was one or two ways. All right. First way, either Yaqub had a syringe and he took the excrement, the sexual excrement of these Neanderthal Caucasian males, and he put it in a syringe. He then took the syringe and artificially inserted it into the womb of these Asiatic women. Once the syringe was artificially inserted to the womb, the monkey excrement or the manky excrement or the troglodyte nigger excrement was released into the womb of Allah, aka the Asiatic woman. And then through trial and error, through some miscarriages here, through some miscarriages there, failed pregnancy here, failed pregnancy there, eventually he got it together, and then these offspring were being reproduced through artificial insemination. So you have one method of how Yaqub did this. And then you have the second method, is which I think he did a lot more. And I think the second method was used a lot more. The second method was this. I think a lot of these Asiatic women were having physical sexual intercourse with these human troglodyte niggers. Okay. When I look at the black woman of today and how she degrades herself, and let's say the ghetto gaggers, right? You know, drinking up and licking up, you know, dogs slop off the floor and all kind of shit, you know what I'm saying, getting peed on and they spitting in her mouth and all kind of shit, right? That leads to me to believe that, okay, the Asiatic woman has a history of sexually defiling herself and sexually degrading herself, all right? So could this have been from these Yaqub experiments when she was having this wild cave sex with these Neanderthal human hybrids? What if this is programmed in the epigenetics of these Asiatic so-called black women of today, and why they are so quick to do the whole swirling and the bed wenching and all that? Could Yaqub have been having orgy parties where Asiatic women were engaging in animal sex with these Neanderthal human hybrids? And I mean physical sex now, meaning to where the Neanderthal human hybrid stuck its physical penis inside of the physical vagina of these Asiatic women and released his excrement inside of her. And once again, through miscarriages, through failed pregnancy, etc., you had some that happened and some that didn't happen. Some that were successful, some that were not successful. Y'all, it's not rocket science. They got here either one or two ways. The Neanderthals didn't drop from the sky. Okay, so it wasn't like some alien dropped them off from the sky. So all that ancient alien shit they showing y'all on History Channel is a fucking lie to cover what I'm saying right now. So that wasn't it. So, you know, they didn't drop here from the sky. You didn't create a whole humanoid from just a liquid and some test tubes. You know what I'm saying? So I'm pretty sure Yaqub has some test tubes in his lab, but I don't see how you get a full human with a heartbeat and all these different things and you just birthed it from a test tube. I don't see that. The only way you're going to be able to create all that is through using the science and the mystical magic of the number 9. And the only person who has that magic is women. Okay. And at this point in time, there was only one woman on the planet to even be able to, you know what I'm saying, try some shit like this. And it was the Asiatic woman. You got to think about it. When the Asiatic woman or the Moorish woman or the Aboriginal woman has a child, she's not actually working inside of her body to produce the child. All a woman does is get pregnant. She basically takes care of her body and she eats and things of that nature. But inside of her, this whole spiritual process of this physical body being manifested, you know, the heartbeat of the child, the limbs of the child and all that stuff coming together, that is a natural process going on inside of the woman. So it's a form of magic. Any woman right now that's listening to my tape right now that has a child, listen very close to what I'm about to ask you. If you are a woman, no matter what your race is or ethnicity, if you are a woman and you have a child right now, did you do any kind of physical work inside of your stomach to put that child together? Did you attach the head to the torso? Did you attach the arms to the torso? Did you attach the legs to the torso? Did you create a lungs? Did you create a heart? Did you create a pancreas? You didn't do any of these things. This stuff all naturally and automatically happened inside of your stomach or your womb, right? Right. Because of the mystical magic of the number 9 and the science of the number 9 dealing with Allah. See, a lot of you women have forgotten your sciences, okay? You've forgotten your sciences. But that's what it was, okay? So if you see a picture on Google now of a full Neanderthal that you know is an Asiatic, but you see it has an arm, it has 2 arms, it has 2 legs, and it has a head, right? So it is in a presentation of an Allah. It's only one being that can produce an Allah, y'all. Now, an Asiatic man, he has the genetics to produce and create an Allah, but there's only one being that can actually manifest the Allah and allow, you know what I'm saying, the being to actually come to the planet. And it is the Asiatic black woman, because she's the mother of all humanity. She has the Eve gene. How many memes have you all seen that talks about how the black woman is a goddess and everybody is birthed from her and all this different stuff? You all have seen hundreds of them. So don't let these women try to trick you all when I bring this Yaqub stuff out and have you thinking that these beings got here from another way. They didn't. They just did it. They came here through the wombs of these women. And Yaqub either inserted them artificially with a syringe or some type of other medical device or tool, or these women engaged in physical sex with these Neanderthal humanoid hybrids. Okay? I'm sorry, but that's just what it was. That's just what it was, okay? And then also, too, don't let them try to make you think that, oh, Yaqub put a gun to their head and made them do this and all this shit. No, 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 no. Because that's the same thing as the whole slave rape. Having you try to think that these women were raped in slavery and they weren't doing the ghetto gagger shit in the barn behind your back. So if you're not going to go for that, then you can't go for them telling you that, oh, we didn't birth the Neanderthals and we didn't have no involvement in the Yaqub experiment. All that is just to try to keep you tricked. Because I'm telling you right now, a lot of this shit that y'all are feeling from me is coming and being powered by the law of retribution. And it is fueled through a Saturnian type of energy that has taken over my whole shit. This is why I keep talking about Saturn so much in all of my tapes. When I got on my spiritual journey years ago, I'm talking about years ago now. When I got on my spiritual journey years ago, the occult behind the planet Saturn was one of the first things that my higher self wanted me to really learn and master. And I didn't know why, really. But I understand now. There is a book by a woman named E. Valencia Stratton. It's called Celestial Ship of the North by E. Valencia Stratton. It's called Celestial Ship of the North by E. Valencia Stratton. And in this same book, she talks about how the so-called Negro or the Aboriginal Americans or the Moors or the Aboriginal Hebrews will not be liberated or will not be freed until they completely polarize Saturn. She even write this in her book, and this comes out before C.M. Bay's stuff, I want to say, because E. Valencia Stratton actually is a student and a follower of Gerald Massey. And Gerald Massey is actually a so-called Egyptologist who actually had the courage, you know what I'm saying, and had the integrity to say that all this comes from Aboriginal people or so-called black people. So Gerald Massey is a person who actually told the truth. Gerald Massey is also another scientist or basically an occult, Egyptologist who also introduced us to information about the Tamahu man. So the Tamahu man is the Egyptian mythos or the Egyptian story dealing with the Yaqub experiment, because the Yaqub experiment is not as old as the Tamahu story. The Tamahu story is much older than the Yaqub story, yet it's talking about the same thing. The Anunnaki story is much older than the Yaqub story, yet it's talking about the same thing. We got to wake the fuck up. Go read the Old Testament and how it talks about when Yaqub had those different goats and sheeps and how he was changing the colors and he was rearranging which different goats and sheeps would procreate together. When he would want this one to have spots, he want this one to be light colored, he want that one to be dark colored. What story do you fucking think that shit is talking about? So it's at a point now where it's like, nah, this shit has been laid out. Like the fucking game is up, man. I'm not about to let y'all trick my subscribers. I'm not about to let y'all trick my viewers. I'm not about to let y'all try to guilt and shame me into not putting this information out. Fuck y'all's emotions. I don't give a fuck how none of you all feel about it, whether you a black man or a black woman, a white man or a white woman. I don't give a fuck about none of y'all. Straight up. Because at the end of the day, I got to clear this shit out from my own karmic cycle. Like I said in the previous tape, like, I don't know, I may have had some involvement with this Yaqub shit in the past life. You know what I'm saying? As brutal as cutthroat I am, where y'all think this Blackbeard shit come from, man? This shit came out of my subconscious. I used to be one of these people. You know what I'm saying? I used to be one of those Aboriginal Moors that had ships that was ruling the 7 seas, and anybody that tried to come across the Atlantic Ocean, anybody that tried to come into the Caribbean, anybody that tried to come into any of these areas around the Americas, man, me and my Moors was taking their shit off, man. Come on, man. We was stealing their gold, man. We was killing them people. We was enslaving their women. I had a part in this shit. Because I be seeing these images in my mind sometimes of shit I done did before in past lives. And every time I take an astrological chart or for myself, no matter what website I do it on, etc., it always has the same karmic cycles that come back. You know, Pluto in the 12th house of Scorpio, Saturn in the 2nd house of Capricorn. And a lot of my karmic cycle also has to do with Libra and dealing with the whole balance thing. Why? Because at some point in my life, I used a lot of my power and I used a lot of my ability to participate probably in the Yaqub experiment. Because that's really the only thing that has been going on this earth for the last few thousand years is the Yaqub experiment. This Yaqub experiment is so big and it's so much greater really than any of us could ever even imagine of why some shit like this would go down, etc. Man, this shit is way bigger than what we really think. So, you know, I have to clear this stuff off of my own soul. You know, I have to. And a lot of you brothers listen to this shit, you know, I'm going to just tell you right now, if your energy is attracted to mine's, then you more than likely was on some cutthroat shit too. Because I hang around straight mobsters and straight gangsters. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I was hanging around some Moors, but I was hanging around a lot of gangster ass Moors. I was hanging around a lot of Moors that'll take your shit. You know what I'm saying? I was hanging around a lot of Moors that'll come and take your treasure chest. A lot of y'all ever played the game Drake Uncharted? They got a game on PS4 and Xbox called Drake Uncharted. When they talk about these different, you know, old treasures and stuff that was left behind from these pirates. Man, I was one of them people. I'm an Aboriginal pirate. I'm an Autochthonous American pirate. So I had my own part in the Yaqub experiment. I can admit it. You know, that's why I'm here to clean this shit up a little bit today. Because we keep living these same cycles over and over until we complete it. So if we ain't really accountable for this shit in this lifetime, then you better believe when you're born in the next lifetime, you're going to continue to face these same problems. And see, when I'm born in my next lifetime, I'm not trying to be born into this fucked up ass society where so-called black people or the Aboriginals are at the bottom. You know, we don't have no kind of resources. Our family's not together. We don't have no real communities and neighborhoods. It's like, I'm not trying to live in that kind of reality no more. I'm trying to clean this shit up all right now and get this shit over with. You know what I'm saying? So when I die and I incarnate into my next body, I'm going to come back with all my wisdom that I had from this lifetime and previous ones. And then I'm not going to have to live in that fucked up reality. It'll be a new Jerusalem. It'll be a new Morocco. It'll be a new Egypt. It'll be a new America. It'll be a new Lemuria. It'll be a new Atlantis. This is what I'm trying to recreate, you know? So you just got to be responsible. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not letting you women get away from this shit. So from now on, look. If you are a so-called black woman or a black man or a white woman or a white man and you too emotional, just go ahead and unsubscribe from my shit. Stop watching my shit. Stop commenting on my shit. Stop liking my shit. Stop disliking my shit. Just leave it alone. Just leave. Like, stop being in the crowd knowing you really hate my shit, but you're still watching it. I guarantee a lot of you people that be viewing my shit don't even fucking like me. Do you think that I be on other people's YouTube pages that I don't really like and I don't fuck with like that? Of course not. Why click dislike on somebody's video or why leave a negative comment when I just don't have to watch the shit and I can just move on with my life? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's what the deal is. And then I'm going to say this and wrap it up too. For all my loyal subscribers and my loyal viewers, you know what I'm saying, who are accountable, because ain't none of us perfect. But all the people who are real out there that hear my voice right now, you have the permission to go the fuck off on anybody in my comment section that's talking stupid. You know what I'm saying? You got the permission. Because I ain't gonna lie to you, like, I'm on some slick, aggressive shit, you know. I don't know, I'm just naturally kind of confrontational. That's been something I've been working on a lot of my life. But fuck all that. Y'all ain't coming on my page talking that foolishness. Because when you do that, I don't know who's gonna read that comment in the future and it may confuse them. You know, you may set them on the wrong course. So now I'm gonna rip your ass a new one because I don't want you fucking up my subscribers' minds. Because I know that a lot of people have been helped from my information. So all you ghetto gagger ass women that's mad about me calling this Yaqub shit out, fuck y'all. Straight up. You can take your ass back to that cave and go fuck them troglodyte nigger mankeys all you want. Because ain't shit stopping over here. I'm finna liberate myself and anybody else who want to goddamn get free with me. You know? And to finish it with this. The real liberation and freedom comes from knowing the knowledge of self and the knowledge of the ancestor. Okay? That's how you free yourself. We don't really need no paperwork from this white man and none of that. I get free when I see people like y'all free, you know? So that's how we gonna do this shit. You know what I'm saying? Just keeping it real.